In the 5th chapter of the book of Joshua, a general commanding an army in the middle of a battle does something that has no precedent in the history of warfare. He gives an order to the sun. Sun, stand still over Gibeon. Moon, stand still over the valley of Aijalon. And according to the text, the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, and the battle continued until the army of Israel had defeated its enemies. A man gave an order to the cosmos, and the cosmos obeyed. This is one of the most theologically disturbing passages in the entire Bible. Not because it describes a miracle, the Bible is full of miracles, but because of what kind of miracle it describes. God does not intervene here. God does not stop the sun. A man stops the sun. A general in the middle of a battle looks up at the sky and gives an order to a celestial body, and the celestial body complies. The question that theologians have been arguing about for 2,000 years is not whether it happened. It is what it means that it happened. Joshua was not a prophet. He was a soldier. He had been a soldier his entire life, first under Moses, then as his successor, the man chosen to lead the people of Israel into Canaan after 40 years in the desert. He was not known for visions or revelations. He was known for tactics, for discipline, for the ability to move large numbers of people through difficult terrain and deploy them effectively against fortified enemies. At Gibeon, he had marched his army through the night, an extraordinary feat of military logistics, to launch a surprise attack at dawn. The battle was going well, but the day was ending. If night fell before the enemy was completely defeated, they would scatter into the hills and regroup. The victory would be incomplete. So Joshua looked up at the sky, and he gave an order. Not a prayer, not a request. An order, the Hebrew word used in the text, is a command form, the same grammatical structure you would use to order a subordinate. Joshua spoke to the sun the way a general speaks to a soldier. The painting that captures this moment better than any other in the history of art was made by a man most people have never heard of. His name was John Martin. He was born in Northumberland in 1789, the youngest of 13 children in a poor family. He taught himself to paint. He moved to London with almost nothing. He spent years working as a china painter and enamel artist while trying to establish himself as a serious painter. When he finally broke through, he broke through completely. His painting Belshazzar's Feast, exhibited in 1820, caused a sensation unlike almost anything the London art world had seen. Crowds lined up to see it. It had to be protected by barriers. People fainted before it. John Martin had invented a new kind of painting, vast, apocalyptic, showing the smallness of human beings against the overwhelming scale of divine power or natural catastrophe. Enormous skies, tiny figures, the cosmos dwarfing everything human. He painted Joshua commanding the sun to stand still in 1816, 4 years before Belshazzar's feast. It shows the moment of the command, Joshua in the foreground, his arm raised toward the sky, and behind him and around him the vast armies of Israel and Canaan spread across a landscape that seems to extend to the edge of the world. And above everything, a sky that is doing something it was not supposed to do. The sun is staying. John Martin was the most popular painter in England for 20 years. He was more widely seen than Turner, more reproduced than Constable. His paintings were engraved and sold in print form across Britain and Europe and America. His images were everywhere. And then he was forgotten, almost completely. Within a generation of his death in 1854, he was considered old-fashioned, melodramatic, excessive. The Victorian art establishment that had embraced him turned away. His paintings ended up in storage. His name disappeared from the standard histories of British art. He was rediscovered in the 20th century, slowly by people who kept noticing that the visual language of certain very famous things looked remarkably like John Martin. Cecil B. DeMille, preparing his epic films of the 1920s, studied Martin's paintings directly. The parting of the Red Sea, the plagues of Egypt, the destruction of Sodom, all of them show the specific combination of enormous scale, dramatic lighting, and tiny human figures that Martin had invented a century earlier. Without John Martin, there is no visual language for the biblical epic, no 10 Commandments, no Ben-Hur, no Prince of Egypt. The most influential visual artist of the 20th century biblical film was a man whose name nobody remembered. But back to Joshua. The theological problem with the miracle at Gibeon is one that the church has never fully resolved. If God is omnipotent, if God is the creator and sustainer of the physical universe, then God does not need to be told what to do by a soldier. God already knows what Joshua needs. God does not require instruction, but in the text, it is not God who acts, it is Joshua who commands, and the universe responds to the command. This creates a theological structure that is deeply uncomfortable for any tradition that emphasizes the absolute sovereignty of God. Because it suggests that under certain conditions that are not fully defined in the text, a human being can give orders to the physical universe, can command the cosmos, can instruct celestial bodies in their movements. It suggests that the boundary between the human and the divine is not as fixed as most theological systems require it to be. The scientific explanations for the miracle at Gibeon are almost more disturbing than the theological ones. For the sun to literally stop moving in the sky, for the Earth's rotation to halt, the physical consequences would have been catastrophic. Everything not attached to the ground would have continued moving at roughly 1,600 kilometers per hour while the ground stopped beneath it. The atmosphere, the oceans, everything. The miracle, as literally described, would have destroyed the army it was meant to save. Various scientific explanations have been proposed. A solar eclipse that extended the usable fighting hours. An unusual atmospheric refraction that made the sun appear to remain visible after it had actually set. A poetic description of the speed of the battle rather than a literal astronomical event. None of them fully satisfy. They either explain away the miracle or preserve a miracle that would have killed everyone, which is perhaps appropriate. Because the moment at Gibeon is not really about astronomy. It is about a man who looked at the sky during a battle and believed, with sufficient conviction, that he had the authority to tell it what to do, and it listened. John Martin's painting shows the moment of command. Joshua in the foreground, his figure tiny against the enormous landscape, his arm raised, the armies spreading in all directions, the sky above doing something that the sky should not be doing. Martin understood something that the theologians sometimes miss. The miracle at Gibeon is not primarily about God's power, it is about Joshua's audacity. The audacity of a soldier who looked up at a sky that was preparing to end his day and said, "Not yet," and was right. John Martin died in 1854 on the Isle of Man, where he had gone to recover from a stroke. He left behind over 200 paintings and drawings. He left behind a visual language that Hollywood would borrow for a century without crediting him. He also left behind 3 enormous paintings that he considered his masterpiece. A triptych on the subject of the Last Judgment, showing heaven, hell, and the plains of heaven in 3 canvases so large they had to be exhibited in a special tent. He called them the Great Day of His Wrath, the Plains of Heaven, and the Last Judgment. He spent the last decade of his life on them. They are now in the Tate Britain in London, where they are exhibited together once every few years because they are too large to be permanently displayed. They are the most spectacular paintings almost nobody has ever seen. The next time you see a biblical epic, on screen in a museum in a church window, look at the scale, the tiny human figures against the enormous sky, the overwhelming weight of divine power pressing down on the smallness of human life. That visual language was invented by one man in a small studio in London in the early 19th century. His name was John Martin, and his favorite subject was the moment when a human being, impossibly audaciously correctly, told the cosmos what to do. And the cosmos listened. If this changed the way you see what a painting can say about the relationship between human beings and the divine, share it with someone who thinks they know what God looks like. And if you want to go deeper, into the artists, the secrets, and the masterpieces that contain the truths we were never supposed to find, subscribe to Hidden Canvas. The sun stopped because a soldier told it to.